This is the largest hibernation site for bats in northern Europe. This is a very, very special site because it's artificial, it's man-made, and it's in an area which geologically doesn't have natural underground sites. And so this is a hugely important resource for the bats in this area.
I've been coming here in January every year since 2008 to help with the winter bat census. It's quite a big undertaking to organise this census that involves quite a lot of coordination, a lot of logistics to ensure that all the sections are covered in the most efficient way.
Ytterberg Underground is 32 kilometres of tunnel. If you're walking to the north of the underground, it's 1.5 to 2 hours walk just to get to the beginning of your counting section. It's necessary to have a good team to cover the whole site in one day.
When we undertake the census, there's no doubt that that causes disturbance to the bats that are in there. It causes some bats to awaken from hibernation, and that uses up important energy reserves. So it's really critical that we keep that disturbance to a minimum.
Okay, this is where we're going to begin. This is our end point, this wall. We normally, for a tunnel like this, split into 2 groups and just walk forward slowly. People spotting the bat. If you're confident of what the bat is, say what the bat is. If not, then there are other people to check the identification.
We have large clusters of the Myotis myotis, the greater mouse-eared bats. They're either in tight clusters on the ceiling, or even more difficult, they're in these small alcoves, and you have bats at the front that you can see, bats at the back you can't see, so it's actually very difficult to count. And we cooperate on this by several people counting the same place and then coming to agreement on the numbers. That's probably the big challenge, apart from walking the distance.
I have 22.
23.
22 and a half years.
There's quite a few hazards and pitfalls within the system, so it's really, really important that everyone's vigilant to the dangers that are down there, and that's not always easy to do when you're really concentrating on counting and identifying and finding the bats.
So this is the typical hazard. These are every 50 metres. This is all the drainage system. The covers are taken off because of people searching for anything valuable, thinking there might be another tunnel below.
Practically all the European bat species feed on insects, and for much of the year during the winter, those insects aren't there for them to feed on. And so bats have adapted to this annual cycle by going into hibernation, and during that period the whole body processes slow down, and that enables them to last out the winter in these very, very cold conditions.
Why is it a good bunker? Because it has 3 levels. The best locations for bats in these bunkers are in between the levels. Military locations are very important for bats because there's always a lot of underground infrastructure which is not used anymore. Partly they were forgotten, lying in the fields. They lost their military purpose. The only purpose they got is for nature conservation.
This monitoring system that we have and the sensors at Nyarlathotep is very important because it allows us to track whether there are any serious problems for the bats in this general area. The health of the population of these species is often an indication of how healthy the general environment is as well. So if bats are doing well, it means the environment is good, and if bats are doing poorly, it means that there is something wrong in our environment.